The most important race in nuclear energy right now isn't just about reactors, it's about fuel. Quietly behind the headlines about AI power demand and next-generation reactors, one company has raised an enormous war chest to solve the most overlooked bottleneck in advanced nuclear power. That company is X-Energy, and its recent $700 million capital raise is a signal that the real battle has begun. This isn't hype money, this is execution money, and it's all aimed at finishing one thing that could decide the future of nuclear energy itself: the world's safest nuclear fuel. X-Energy isn't chasing attention the way meme stocks do. It's chasing infrastructure. Hard, expensive, regulated infrastructure that takes years to build and decades to matter. While many nuclear startups focus on flashy reactor designs, X-Energy understands a brutal truth: no fuel, no reactors, no matter how good the design is. And that's why their push to complete the TRISO fuel facility may end up being more important than any single reactor announcement in the entire industry. To understand why this matters, you need to understand the problem nuclear energy has been hiding for years. Advanced reactors promise safer operation, smaller footprints, and lower costs. Governments love the idea. Utilities want the reliability. Tech companies want carbon-free baseload power. But almost all of these designs rely on a specific type of fuel that barely exists at commercial scale: TRISO fuel. Without it, advanced nuclear stays theoretical. TRISO, short for tri-structural isotropic fuel, is often called meltdown-proof. Each fuel particle is a tiny sphere about the size of a poppy seed, with a uranium core wrapped in multiple ceramic and carbon layers. Each layer acts as a containment barrier, meaning even under extreme heat, pressure, or reactor failure scenarios, the radioactive material stays locked inside the particle. No large fuel rods, no catastrophic release, just millions of microscopic containment units working together. This fuel isn't just safer, it's structurally revolutionary. Traditional nuclear fuel relies heavily on external cooling systems and complex safety mechanisms. TRISO fuel flips that logic. The safety is baked directly into the fuel itself. That's why regulators, defense agencies, and energy planners see it as the foundation of next-generation nuclear power. And that's why whoever controls TRISO fuel production controls the pace of advanced nuclear deployment. Here's where X-Energy enters the picture. The company has spent years developing not just reactors, but the entire fuel ecosystem needed to support them. Their XE100 reactor design depends on high-assay, low-enriched uranium TRISO fuel, and instead of waiting for someone else to build that supply chain, X-Energy decided to do the hard thing: build it themselves. That decision is why the recent $700 million capital raise matters so much. This wasn't speculative funding raised on hype alone. It was backed by serious institutional players, strategic partners, and government alignment. The funding is explicitly designed to accelerate construction and completion of X-Energy's TRISO fuel fabrication facility, one of the most advanced nuclear manufacturing plants ever attempted in the United States. This facility isn't just a factory, it's a strategic asset. Once operational, it would be one of the only commercial-scale sources of TRISO fuel in the world. That means X-Energy wouldn't just supply its own reactors. It could supply fuel to other advanced reactor developers, defense programs, and international partners. In other words, fuel becomes leverage. Think about that for a second. In the AI world, whoever controls the chips wins. In nuclear energy's next chapter, whoever controls the fuel sets the timeline. Now here's the part most people miss. Fuel production is harder than reactor design. Reactor concepts can live on paper for years. Fuel must meet insane precision standards, survive extreme conditions, pass regulator scrutiny, and be produced consistently at scale. One defect rate too high, and the entire batch is useless. This is why TRISO fuel has been stuck in laboratories and pilot projects for decades. Scaling it is a nightmare. X-Energy is attempting to solve that nightmare head-on. Their facility is designed to produce TRISO fuel at volumes large enough to support commercial reactors. Not experiments, not demos, but real power plants feeding real grids. That requires specialized equipment, custom manufacturing processes, and an industrial workforce trained for nuclear-grade quality control. This is not Silicon Valley software. This is heavy industry at its most unforgiving. And that's exactly why the $700 million matters. Nuclear timelines don't bend to optimism. They bend to capital, permitting, and execution. X-Energy is buying time, certainty, and speed in a sector where delays can kill entire companies. Let's pause for a moment, because this is where the story gets interesting for you as a viewer. Everyone talks about the future of energy. Everyone talks about climate change, AI power demand, grid resilience. But very few people ask the uncomfortable question: who actually builds the boring, expensive parts that make the future possible? That's where fortunes are quietly made or lost. X-Energy is betting that fuel is that bottleneck. Their reactor, the XE100, is a high-temperature gas-cooled reactor designed to deliver steady, carbon-free power with passive safety features. But the reactor itself isn't what unlocks scale. The fuel does. And by vertically integrating fuel production, X-Energy is trying to eliminate the single biggest uncertainty facing advanced nuclear deployment. This strategy also aligns perfectly with geopolitical reality. Governments are increasingly nervous about nuclear fuel supply chains. Enriched uranium sources are concentrated. Global tensions are rising. Energy security is no longer theoretical, it's political. TRISO fuel, especially when produced domestically, offers a way to reduce dependence on foreign suppliers while increasing safety margins. That's why X-Energy's funding includes not just private capital, but strong government support. The company is positioned at the intersection of energy policy, national security, and climate strategy. That's not accidental, it's deliberate. Now let's talk timelines, because that's where credibility lives or dies. The TRISO fuel facility is not a concept anymore. It's under active development. Equipment is being installed. Processes are being validated. This isn't a someday project. It's a finish-the-build project. And if X-Energy hits its milestones, it could begin supplying fuel in the second half of this decade, right when advanced reactors are scheduled to move from demonstration to deployment. That timing is critical. If fuel isn't ready, reactors sit idle. Investors walk away. Governments lose patience. Entire nuclear programs stall. X-Energy understands this pressure, and that's why the funding round is structured around execution, not exploration. But make no mistake, this is still a high-risk endeavor. Building a nuclear fuel facility is one of the hardest things an energy company can attempt. Regulatory oversight is intense. Supply chains are fragile. Cost overruns are common. Any delay ripples outward, affecting reactor schedules, customer contracts, and credibility. This is where X-Energy's strategy diverges from hype-driven startups. They aren't promising overnight disruption. They're promising industrial discipline. That doesn't make headlines, but it's how real infrastructure gets built. And here's the uncomfortable truth many investors don't want to hear. The companies that win in energy transitions are rarely the loudest ones. They're the ones that survive the long, boring middle. The years where nothing exciting happens except concrete pouring, equipment testing, and regulatory meetings. X-Energy is stepping directly into that middle. Let's bring this back to the bigger picture. The world wants nuclear energy without nuclear risk. TRISO fuel is the closest thing the industry has to delivering that promise. It reduces meltdown scenarios, improves waste characteristics, and enables simpler reactor designs. But none of that matters if it stays scarce. By building a commercial-scale TRISO fuel facility, X Energy is attempting to move advanced nuclear from vision to supply chain reality. That's not glamorous, but it's foundational. Now ask yourself this: what happens if they succeed? If the facility comes online on schedule, X Energy doesn't just power its own reactors, it becomes a supplier to an entire ecosystem. Other reactor developers may depend on their fuel. Governments may rely on their production capacity. Defense and space applications could use the same fuel technology. Suddenly, X Energy isn't just a reactor company, it's a nuclear infrastructure company. That's a very different valuation story. But flip the scenario. What if the facility is delayed? What if costs rise faster than expected? What if regulatory hurdles slow production? In that case, the entire advanced nuclear timeline stretches out. Investors grow impatient. Governments shift priorities. Momentum stalls. This is the knife edge X Energy is walking. And this is why their $700 million raise isn't about hype. It's about survival. Nuclear doesn't forgive underfunding. You either finish the facility properly or you don't finish it at all. Here's where I want to pull you into the conversation. Do you think the future of energy will be decided by the most innovative ideas or by the companies willing to do the hardest, least exciting work? Drop your take in the comments, because this question goes way beyond nuclear. X Energy's story is a reminder that technology revolutions don't happen all at once. They happen layer by layer: fuel, manufacturing, regulation, deployment. The public sees the final product. The real work happens years earlier, in places most people never look. And right now, one of those places is a TRISO fuel facility being built with a $700 million war chest. Whether X Energy becomes a cornerstone of the nuclear renaissance or a cautionary tale will depend on execution, not vision. But if they succeed, they won't just have built a safer fuel. They'll have built the bottleneck everyone else has been ignoring. And in energy, whoever controls the bottleneck controls the future.